Hi, everybody. Good evening. Okay, I got that one here. Boom, boom. Let me just, we're going to have a little bit of formatting. Kind of try and get through all this together. Welcome to the number one podcast nobody knows about, and even fewer are watching or listening. So, welcome to The Secret. No, it's not The Secret. That's a whole nother cult. Hi, I'm Scooter McGee. It is 1 a.m. on the East Coast. It is 9 a.m. in the Kremlin. It is 3 p.m. in Moscow. And it is 10 p.m. in Los Angeles, or now 01. As we look at the headlines ending 3/11/2022 and enter 3/12/2022. Kamala Harris's appearances. We're going to do a couple of headlines, and then we'll have a little talk for a moment, and then I'll read through all of them. Vladimir Putin is telling the people of Russia that the people of Russia and the country of Mother Russia are going to come out stronger through this crisis in Ukraine. And the United States military intelligence community are alleging fears of a chemical attack by Mother Russia on the Ukraine, or the use of chemical weapons in which Vladimir Putin will use it as a false flag. That's a very interesting scenario to bring up as they continue to divert away from the bioweapons labs that may or may not exist in Ukraine, who funded them, how long they were there, what research materials are so many people so worried about, and why is it all being hoax, fake news, mostly not true, disinformation, propaganda. Who's paying for the labs? What's in them? And what is this research that CNN CNN, BBC, ABC, joy about Major League Baseball, that's great. Kamala Harris not doing well on the worldwide stage, and even anonymous people on the dark web who commit horrible atrocities are questioning Facebook's latest comments and statements regarding calls to action, calls to violence, and calls for the death of members of the Russian army and the generals and Putin, and that's okay on Facebook, temporarily. But, all right, let's have a Coke and a smoke, and backwards to, I think reverse is going to work this time. Why was Janet Yellen in Denver on a rather important day? Important. It's always important for Janet Yellen. The important of 3/11. You want to bring up Illuminati and the New World Order and the New World Order Airport and the military-industrial complex and a shadow government in Denver and secret societies and numerology. What is she doing in Denver? Who's part of the money and the work and the important work and the wow. And the media just laps it up. What's Janet Yellen doing in Denver 3/11/2022? The media is not going to tell you other than fighting for the infrastructure, the COVID, and the 2020, and then 2021, the greatest recovery, and now 2022, and those 3 years. Wow. Holy, are we in a lot of trouble. Vote talk. There's talk, there's chatter. Talk on the internet. No. New Hampshire wants to secede from the Union. See, Weld County wants to become part. We're going to be the first, and Colorado's the first. Hey, Governor Polis is running for president 2024. Just to throw that out for you. What was Janet Yellen doing in Denver on 3/11/2022? New Hampshire wants to secede from the United States. This morning, overnight, for many of you, my overnight and morning day, President Biden was considering revoking favored trade, I'm sorry, former trade partner, they said originally trade partnership status. And I wrote, hold on, 2 pages back, favored trade relationship status. What the WTF? You all write that in the margins, don't you? That's favored nation status. And since China and Russia have already made their strategic agreement and partnership very public with no attention in the media, what is Janet Yellen doing in Denver at the Federal Reserve? Oh. Elon Musk is taking quite a bit of heat. Apparently, Elon Musk does not believe censorship is a good idea, no matter who, what, where, or what type of information is somehow suddenly deemed as profane, offensive, or propaganda or misinfo, disinfo. Elon Musk is maintaining his statement of originally, now 48 hours ago, regarding Facebook's lockdown, crackdown, Google, YouTube, now DuckDuckGo, all of them towing the corporate line of demonize, 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 and it's good to demonize, it's legal to demonize, and why aren't you demonizing with us? I think that censorship is a bad idea. You are more evil. Innocent children and women and children and more children are going to die. And what if one more child dies? This fetish and obsession with the children on all platforms of the media should scare the out of all of you parents and single people who ever want to, replicate or breed. You're going to forgive me. I'm the poster child for birth control. 7 minutes and 35 seconds. I agreed 30 seconds into like the goddamn thing and rambled. Sorry. I am Scooter McGee. Bitch, moan, and complain to management. There isn't any HR. Seriously, I grew up when we laughed at HR. We made fun of HR. Oh, can't do that now. You genuflect when you say HR. Well, I don't have any of that. Social media, I'm Scooter McGee on Facebook. Twitter, all my headlines are over on the Twitter feed, the Scooter McGee. Because nobody wants to be me, nobody likes me, nobody pays attention to me. Then why did so many people claim to imitate to be me that I couldn't even use my name? I'm not allowed a check mark. Been on the damn thing for a decade. You could be misinformation. How many awards do I have to win in order to be able to prove? Oh, the awards don't matter. You weren't a national, bootlicker. You were just one. You're okay, fine. Hey, whatever you want to say. Support the endeavor. Scooter McGee on Patreon. Subscribe and like if you like this, and here we go. I can't sit that there. I won't drink it. I wanted this time because normally I go back to when the headline started, and then this time I'm going to go backwards because of how they jumped. So when this started, there was a convoy. Well, there were multiple convoys. There was the Canadian truckers. There was the convoy assembling in California to go to Washington, D.C. before the State of the Union. And then there were several convoys, but one of strategery north of Kiev. That's Kiev, you racist. I know. The 40-mile convoy, which was initially reported 17 miles out of Kiev, a large convoy. And then it was a 6-mile convoy. It was 17 miles out. And that seemed too suspicious for the conspiracy people. So they said the 17-mile convoy was 15 miles outside of town. Then they said the convoy had grown to 40 miles and was 15 miles outside of Kiev. Then they reported the convoy was largely just sitting there for what seemed like almost 40 days. But for well over 40 hours, the 40-mile convoy, and then more reports. There's a 40-mile convoy ready to close in on Kiev. The situation in Kiev went from fallen to is falling to is about to fall to under siege to in danger. The invasion was initially called a Russian military exercise. Then it was Russian military operation. And in the world of Russia, if you oppose the Russians, the Russian military, the Russian army, the Russian Air Force, or the Russian submarines, or any of the narrative, and speak about the Russian war, you will go to a gulag now for 12 to 15 years. And the people in the West and the people on the internet, and many, again, the #1 podcast nobody knows about, and even fewer people watch. Whew, sucks to be them. The argument is sucks to be me doing this to nobody. This is kind of like I Am Legend. He goes out on the pier every day. That movie doesn't end. I know it doesn't, but at least it has an ending. This doesn't. The continued discussion of a prolonged war. President Biden said it opening out of the first salvo when it came to what was the strongest, most aggressive, severe sanctions since God invented the word. We're going to look at it in a month and see. And then we send the cackling you-know-what to cackling Kamala. Thought I was going to use the C word, didn't you? So we're going to send cackling Kamala over there to giggle and talk about unity and the tragedy and together and partnership and cooperation. Wow. Fully embarrassing the United States, what's left of our foreign policy after pulling out of Afghanistan the way we did. Kamala Harris is now embarrassed every single living, breathing human being on the world stage. And thank God The View had something to say about this the next day. Anyone who dares talk about Kamala's performance, bingo, performance, and a piss-poor one at that, in Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, on the front and the flank, and she doesn't even know where she is. And the looking down and trying to figure out, and the unity, and the region, and oh dear God. Got tangenting on Kamala. I know the 40-mile, and more. Now there's drone footage. And, okay. How about the footage of the ghost of Ukraine? Boy, with now over 30 kills, you'd think he assigned something. Sorry, ladies. I don't care what national day of whatever hood it is. It's a male pilot, but the pilot doesn't exist. This isn't an urban legend. This is a hoax. That's misinformation. That's disinformation. Okay, well, there's no evidence of credibility that suggests a fighter pilot has 30 kills in his mouth shut. Speaking of kills, the snipers. In the really first couple of days of this, I discussed in my war college training at the Knoxville School of Faith Healing. Only part-time classes, and I failed out of that too. However, I got 12 cities. Or what did I say, 8 cities and 12 snipers? You have 25% more. Or there was 12 cities, then I wanted 16 snipers. Yeah, you heard me. I don't know all the tanks on. Snipers. You want to destroy. I think it's in the other book. You know what? Let me go back. I might have the quotes from in here's Planet of the Apes. Russia. Snipers is under a box. Let me look, because then I can tell you what day. I said this, and you can go watch the video and go, holy, Scooter was right again. It was 2/28, 2022. Kharkiv, now, major battle. Vladimir Putin said that's 228. Oh, yes, and Kharkiv was horrible. Oh, dear God. 228. Protests. No, the protests, right, the snipers were before the protests in Russia. Again, it might be in the other book. You know, I'm thinking. Yeah, those were the jokes for the morning show. Okay, wait a minute. Air dominance. Oh, Russia claimed air dominance on 228. Last day of February is declares it. And that was the same one Saturday Night Live pandered to Ukraine with the choir and the nonsense. So let me scroll through because I'll find if it's in this book, unless my predictions were before 228. I deliberately made note of the snipers and why and the ratio and what it does with devastating results. Because here, the ghost, 28 explained. U.S. death to, yeah, the COVID death was that 228 to 2020. 17-mile convoy, now 40 miles long. That was 3-1. This might be good from time to time just to look at our notes. The NATO. The State of the Union, forgive me. Snipers are after State of the Union. I know that now. Doesn't matter the ratio. It was deliberate in rotation. And if I can't find exactly what I wrote, I'll tell you it again. Yeah, now we have the announcement of 498 dead. Wow, it wasn't that long ago. Okay, so I know right where to pick it up. So we have the tanks. See, there's the convoy, and it's not moving, and they're surrounding. Yeah, they're called choke points. We no longer need to bomb and destroy a city because it's far too more valuable to leave intact. We've already been wussified with this threat of for everyone's safety and yada yada yada, shelter in place. See, all the coding is there now: shelter in place, evacuate, quarantine. Well, in military strategy, you choke off the city and you starve them out, you bomb them out. They're attacking innocent civilians. Sorry, the Russians, the Soviets. See, this is to conquer. You're in their way. Get out of the way. You won't get out of the way. Sucks to be you, comrade. I'm sorry. The horror and the tragedy. Vladimir Putin's army is killing innocent civilians. The truth is the first casualty of war, and innocent civilians are next. The horror in the images. Stop telling us the horror. I think people can determine what's horror. The horror is the bull that's being spewed out of there every night by you guys. Demands and calls for no-fly zone. No-fly zone's going to bring us to war. We're already at war. And if they're in there, we need to shoot them down. See, this is okay. Your time for that isn't anymore. See, you all got together and wore ribbons and changed flags and put on some colors and made some meetings and took some votes and showed solidarity and called for sanctions and condemnations. And the army keeps moving. In this case, it was stalled. Now it's being attacked. Where's the drone footage coming from? Whose drones are whose? How are all of these Ukrainian refugees suddenly arriving at the U.S.-Mexican border? How did we go from the ghost of Kiev to false flags? And we didn't get to false flags and chemical, biological weapons. Nobody said anything about biological weapons. Okay. Snipers. snipers. Where are all of these Ukrainians coming from out of the woodwork suddenly at the U.S. Mexico border? And the crisis now, get this, the crisis, because of 2020. Oh, you mean, and that'd be, ooh, the evil bad man. The evil bad man signed an executive order, or there's a pandemic order or a national order that the border is closed. Really? You mean for all of these, the Ukrainian refugees? They have Ukrainian accents and they have Ukrainian. Whoa! The bridges are bombed and the trains are out, and it's grandma's being helped over, man-made bridges to escape. And they're where? Well, they're at the United States-Mexico border. Of course they are. What is amazing to me is all of the issues of the supply chain. Because again, the ambush. How are the javelins and everything else getting there so quickly? Again, Elon Musk because that's private. Elon just give what? Those over there. Take care. Yes, sir. Same guys who dig tunnels underground on weekends. We can get those dishes there. I even fire up the secret jet. Yes, sir. Okay. Where are all the refugees coming from? Out of the other side of the world. It's juxtaposition on a map. How many planes you got to take to get to Mexico City? What major international airport are they arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border? You just might want to ask that question before you change the color again and demand which border to possibly be open or closed. Retards. And retards. And retards. The drone footage. Mirapol. Remember the 200,000 allegedly that were evacuated? That was the other in the snipers of how I was going to do that. That's not funny. Yeah, it wasn't, and I had it written down. Maybe that's where the snipers are. And I got lost in the notes. Algorithms. Well, we're at 3 million refugees, by the way. No, we're not. NBC News reported over 2.5 million. Okay. Check that tomorrow or today or yesterday, whatever time you get this. National gas average can't count anymore because it moved every day, 4 days in a row. Now 5, except California's moved quicker. California's different, Damn it. I'm getting lost in the numbers. And I really wanted those original numbers on the number of snipers because there's a very specific reason. And I gave the hypothetical number of cities. But that last number I thought I had written down in previous notes. And I ain't seeing it and I'm wasting your time. So Mirapol, the 200,000 allegedly that were evacuated overnight, that called for those original humanitarian corridors and safe zones, because no-fly zone wasn't working. We need a safe zone and a corridor because they just evacuated 200. And I said, well, wait a minute. The town has 400,000 people. That's a big town. 200,000 people just don't disappear in 12 hours. Satellites would see that in an absolute heartbeat for the sheer volume of thermal body heat as they all ran across the fruited plain. 200,000 people simply did not move. That is not, in the world of logistics, our company is able to manage to, well, 200,000 people just don't disappear overnight. Does not happen. But the media sure as ran with it, didn't they? There's nothing wrong with your audio. I'm upset for a myriad of reasons, and it's none of your business, and I swear, there's no sound. I'm not doing any of that. I've learned to not fucking swear to people. It almost came out. Yeah, the 200,000 refugees out of Mariupol. They're still there. Many of them killed, of course, in the random, merciless attacks by the Russian army. The fighter jets with their missiles and their bombs. That's the other, things I've been pointing out this whole time. They claim the superiority, but they're not. We're not seeing the bombings. We're seeing low-level strafing jet bombers that are dropping, in some cases, just gravity bombs. That's a lot of the Russian. See, again, this Western illusion of, I'm just worried that if one person, and it's all so clean, except only in the movies, and this is worse than the movies, they're now calling Mariupol as Armageddon. What can only describe as Armageddon, that's NBC News, that's 3/11/2022. But a week ago, NBC News was talking about 200,000 people that had fled. Because that story then morphed of the overwhelming need to help and assist and evacuate up to 200,000 people. Oh, you changed that lie and that story very quickly. Well done, NBC News. The intelligence community continues to worry about Vladimir Putin and that he will use chemical weapons and then possibly as a false flag to escalate the war or to think. What is Janet Yellen doing in Denver? Americans forced to recognize higher gas prices at the pumps, forced to recognize. They've seen the gas prices rising all year long before Ukraine, like 36 hours after the anniversary of the State of the Union last time. Oh, he's one of those. Call out the dogs. Set him on fire. What is Janet Yellen doing in Denver? So important. It's her favorite word, other than her. This isn't a swear word during Lent. Christ, with her at the helm under Obama, it was bad. That was the other where I was going. The White House never let a good crisis go to waste, or Congress never let a good crisis go to waste, or your taxpayer dollars if you're an American, soon to be stranded on the International Space Station by the evil Russians. Another $1.6 trillion wrote a check, ones and zeros, money allocated, emergency money to keep the government still open. Yeah, because the last thing, that's the only thing that Congress now seems, and they're going to expedite that to get it over the president's desk immediately. To keep spending your money at record levels, as we're about to see. And once we get through March, we are not even to the Ides of March. And he's going to actually stroke out right there live. We should have a second camera just to record the last of the wore out, the warranty wore out. He was right, he was chipped, and it was in the serial numbers. You need a month's worth of data, the 30-day reports of the economic of the last month to establish that rate. And it was either 7.8, 7.9, or 8.7. 7.8 or 7.9 for the month of February, the rate of inflation. Oh, stand by for double digits. See, that's Putin's fault. Wow. Hey, what was the rate of inflation the month before? Anybody? Bueller? I know the intelligence community is worried. New Hampshire wants to secede from the Union. We'll see how that goes. More potentially bad news is they will string this on. Of course they will, for months, because the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine have failed to make any progress. And we still need time to see how long these sanctions, even if they're working. Troops continue to advance into Kiev. This now after 16 days since it was reported a military exercise by CNN, Fox News, ABC, NBC. 2.3 million, that number had to be scratched and changed to now 2.5, 2.7 plus million refugees, according to the United Nations report, with now many more millions to come. Good. The Biden administration calling for Russia to remove now favored nation status back to where this started in China. Bad idea. Bad idea. Bad idea. What is Janet Yellen doing in Denver on a 3/11/2022? I'm going to ask Joe Lanier, the conspiracy keepers, next time we meet. Facebook again is temporarily allowing the posts on the Ukraine war that do call for violence against not only Russia, Russian invaders, invading Russians is what they say, which means Russian forces. And they're rather vague or descriptive when it comes to just Russian people. They seem to be getting demonized enough. But you can call for Vlad. Again, here in the West, we thought it was beyond absurd that Senator Lindsey Graham or his purse would even mention in the hall, why don't we just assassinate Putin? Just keep your voice down, dude. First to social media and then double downing. Double downing. Double down. On media. This et tu, Brute, the Ides of March, triumvirates, unilateral. Vladimir Putin is a madman. Vladimir Putin is crazy. There's a Russian playbook, Soviet playbook, actually. See, doesn't translate well in Mother Russia. Because the Soviet playbook doesn't translate well in Mother Russia either. Translates best under Mao Zedong. Understanding the Little Red Book. And understanding Lenin's writings and his lineage. And Karl Marx and his writings, his lineage. And understanding where that mentality and thought and grooming and environment came from just out of the czars. I guess maybe that's another great reason why there aren't a lot of military boarding schools anymore. But that's where they taught that. And it was to us kids. So when all of this started in December, the military activity and the largest Russian military exercises in Belarus, yada, yada, yada. Because I was on another project. Hey, did you see what happened with the guy in Canada with the drug? Hey, did you see what happened in Belarus with the? Never mind. Talked about something completely else. Because I then realized, holy, I'm seeing it. And they're not. All right. A country under siege. Yeah, Vladimir isn't going anywhere. The army isn't going anywhere. Initial accounts that Vladimir Putin may have lost 8 to 10% of his military equipment, forces, and operations sent into the. Yeah. So, yeah, and so what? See, there's a playbook that the Soviet Union uses. And there is an ideology and a methodology. Now, to the Western technical geek gaming mind, and what appears is military, and again, where you need to be pissed off is where did all of your money go for military intelligence and the spying and the knowledge? Because the generals are all backpedaling, because that's why we're seeing these colonels, lieutenant colonels, a senior fellow and the lieutenant colonel and the former yada, yada, yada. All this money they extorted from us under threat of fear of the bomb and hide under your desk and duck and cover and the Cold War and spying and electronic and the satellites and the treaties and testing bans. Somebody's been lying to you about how scared of the boogeyman any of us should have been. No, quickly get mad and turn into a mob and want to go kill them because they're bombing and hurting someone else, not realizing how badly you have been lied to for at least 50 years. You can't sit in a restaurant across from somebody and have a conversation without doing this every 6 minutes. Then there's no way in hell you are going to dare question. Wait a minute. Your stuff isn't as good as it looks like in the movies. It's the movies. We got the drone footage, and you seeing where the Ukrainians are stealing the tanks, and the tank looked like it had been in a car accident. The metal was peeling off it under the heavily armored, some of the most secure and sophisticated, and the we need more money. We need more money. We need more money. $1.7 trillion emergency relief money. Keep government open. Give Ukrainian aid. Help the refugees. Help the children. We're working together. Friend in need. It's okay right now for you to go after Putin. After it's not okay, they for 2 years could yell at you about a mask. You say something now, and you're physically, verbally abusing and assaulting children on national television. They're now going to let the mob, Maxine Waters, you tell them they're not welcome. You get it. You did it. You draw a crowd. Where do you possibly think this goes? Negotiate and broker peace and partnership. War is in hell, and war is in war. They are about to unleash a mob back onto itself by allowing the demonization to Putin and allowing calls to violence. And on the outie, Jussie Smollett was sentenced to 150 days in Illinois, so he'll do it in the county jail. He was sentenced to 30 months of probation. He was fined $25,000. The judge humiliated and shamed him, and before leaving the courtroom, Jussie Smollett told the world he is not suicidal. He's not going to kill himself. He didn't do it. And I'm wondering, when did Jussie Smollett think that he was Jeffrey Epstein? I'm just curious. The family then outside of the court all had to make statements. They made their statements. Here, brother. Yeah, got the statement. I'm making a statement. You're missing the Z, and you're missing a little more of this. We'll get them there. It's only a matter of time. That Jussie Smollett is the victim. He was attacked, and now he's being attacked more by the world. Jussie Smollett is the victim. And back to The View. This all got tangented by those, again. We started this somewhere, and I was going to bring up The View after Kamala Harris, because I come from a different world. The women now allege that if you say anything bad about how Kamala was giggling and cackling and brokering a peace deal, she was sent over there as a symbol. She's not negotiating anything. Anything the media is reporting otherwise is a lie. If you look at who, by the way, we saw the International Partners of Peace assemble on the steps for their picture. Did you see Kamala Harris there? No. I saw other people of color there. I saw the two genders that exist there. I didn't see President Kamala Harris there yet. She was in the region. She was at the border. She was in the north, the east, and the west, and the south. The View. Focus. I am a misogynistic pig because I point out how she's humiliating every living Christian soul on this planet by placing everyone in the West, including Americans, at risk of how stupid we look, because that's the most intelligent, brilliant, what you bring to the table to represent us? You. Get her off fucking stage now. War is a culture. It's man's fault war exists. I'm going to remember that, ladies, the next time I see the two of you busting out like that. Fighting over all that important, like a pair of shoes or a purse on sale. War is a culture of men. It's man's fault. How we think in barbaric, because how great we be leading, and we as men can't see how, wait a minute, there's a whole bunch of women who think Kamala Harris looks ridiculous right now. We're talking about the men. And war is a culture of men. I'm waiting for them to absolutely make it white men. It is white man's fault that we have been warring. Jesus was black. The Romans were white. What more do we need to say? That Facebook thing that was about the Russians now, we're going to turn off and we're going to turn it on over here. Because you can't have something react here and not have it react here. So as hundreds of thousands, now over 1 million, exited Ukraine from the west, northwest, they suddenly appeared at the United States-Mexican border in a matter of less than 14 days. Now a crisis on the U.S.-Mexican border, because in 2020 somebody might have, because of a crisis, so we're going to have all of that and reform and let them all in, because we don't know which ones may or may not be Ukrainian. Big drug bust in Denver. 200 pounds of illegal narcotics, cocaine, fentanyl, opium, heroin, methamphetamine. Didn't know any of them. Would have been a good time to, actually. What was Janet Yellen doing? I really want to know. Again, the cover story of part of the deal and the infrastructure, and it's important. Here, important. And I can't. I don't want to. I really don't. We're going to have to tighten this thing up a lot. With, the number one podcast that nobody knows about and even fewer people watch or listen to. I wouldn't listen to this shit either. Wait a minute, you just spent that whole time and then you said shit. Well, it is shit. They can't spend your money fast enough. They can't figure out another way to lock you down fast enough. Americans' habits are changing at the pump. Yeah, they don't have any money. Their habits are changing, which is what they want. They want behavior modification. They want to control you. Where you go, what you spend it on. This isn't a conspiracy. Anybody who calls it a conspiracy at this point is to be laughed at. The bioweapons research facilities exist in Ukraine. What's in them? Who paid for and is paying for them? Not debunked on CNN. Debunk. Great. That was then. This is now. You better get your facts straight. CNN is worthless. Also MSNBC. Also Fox News. Circle the wagons. 2-year anniversary. Let's see how much we can change the story now in real time. There's a crisis growing on the U.S.-Mexican border regarding the Ukrainian refugees that are coming in by the tens of thousands. It'll start with dozens, and then hundreds, and it'll be tens of thousands. Because the UN just said many more millions of Ukrainian refugees. What better way than to hide in plain sight? Good night. It is 1:45 a.m. In New York, and it is 9:45 a.m. Saturday in Moscow, 3:45 p.m. in Tokyo. Banzai! And it's only 10:45 at night in LA. Cool. The cool people can go outside now and get drunk and party on all night long till dawn. Be well, be safe. Follow me, like me, subscribe me. Subscribe to me. Support the show, Scooter McGee at Patreon. Follow me on Twitter, the Scooter McGee. And we can socialize on Facebook if that's your thing. Scooter McGee on Facebook. Good night, everybody. Be well, be safe. I'm out of here.